Hello everybody, this is the King of Pikmin here yet again, and today we're going to start our Gears 4 news coverage. So I'm pretty late in this video, but from this point forward I'm going to be covering the news as soon as it comes out. And let me just tell you, there's some great new additions that I'm really excited for, and my Gears hype meter is like off the charts. It's off the charts. Like I said, it's out of here. So let's just get started with the story. So there's 3 new characters. This game is taking place 25 years after Gears of War 3 ended. And there's one thing that made me pretty happy, because they confirmed that the Locust will not be in this game at all. So, which, I mean, I love the Locust. I didn't necessarily want them to be gone, but the fact that we used that emotion countermeasure at the end of Gears 3 that Adam Phoenix created, that was meant to wipe out all emotion on the planet, effectively killing off the Locust and lambent creatures. I'm very glad to see that they're taking, note of that and making it so that the prior trilogy was actually meaningful. So, yeah, let's get into it. So, JD Phoenix is the first character. Player 1 is always going to be JD Phoenix, and then player 2 can pick between the other 2 characters that I'm going to mention here in a minute. So, JD Phoenix, I'm sure you guessed, is Marcus Phoenix's son. So, I mean, we don't know who his mom is, like it doesn't mention or anything yet, but I mean, we can all assume that it's Anya. I mean, he's blonde, Anya was blonde, and Anya and Marcus clearly had a thing, especially at the very last scene of Gears of War 3, so that's pretty, I think it's safe to assume that it's Anya and Marcus, and that's JD, so he's basically became a cog as soon as he was able, just like his father, and then just like his father also, there's an event that, it makes him go AWOL. We don't know what the incident is. It just says classified incident, and it makes him go AWOL. And then next is Kate Diaz, which she's part of a new faction. There's basically, she's pretty much part of the Stranded. Like, if you know Gears of War, you know who the Stranded are. People who weren't supporters of the COG and kind of lived off on their own. That's pretty much the exact same thing here. After the events of the last trilogy, the Locust War took such a great toll that there's only like a few 100,000 people left on the planet Sarah. So, and then the COG rounded up a lot of them and has this big, has a bunch of city-states and everything that they're pretty much trying to rebuild, and they're repopulating all that stuff. So, but then the outsiders don't like the COG for whatever reason. We don't really know yet. Probably the same reason as the Stranded. Pretty much the same thing. They always just work on surviving, and they're just surviving without the COG. They're not huge fans of the COG, so they're living out away from the city-states that the COG is rebuilding, and just living on their own. So, and then she actually becomes friends with JD. We don't know how yet, but she's actually the daughter of 2 of the outsider leaders. So, we're not sure what happens and how she becomes friends with JD, but she does. She knows nothing about the COG or how it operates, so that should be an interesting, dynamic between those 2. And then the third character is actually JD's best friend from when they were kids. So, he's an ex-COG soldier. His name's Del Walker. He became a COG soldier as soon as JD did. They're just great friends. They left boarding school, and then they went to the army right away, right after, right together, JD and Del. So Delmont Walker, Kate Diaz, and JD Phoenix are going to be the 3 campaign characters that we can look forward to seeing. And they all 3 sound pretty interesting so far. It's interesting to have an outsider joined up with these 2 born, bred, and eat, sleep, and breathe COG soldiers. So, but clearly, oh yeah, I forgot to mention, Del Walker takes part in the incident that makes JD go AWOL. So we're not sure what that event is, but it affects both of them. And as far as enemies go, it's a new enemy actually, named the Swarm. So they bear some resemblances to the Locust, but some very glaring differences as well. So they look a lot more demonic and mutated than the Locusts. Locusts were pretty much human, but scaly and pale, because they were always living underground and stuff. So one of the most notable new enemies of the Swarm, we don't know where they come from or what their purpose is or anything, but all we know is they've been taking outsiders from camps and stuff, and we don't know what they do with the people. They've just been kidnapping them, and we're not sure. We know that some of them burst from, a lot of them burst from pods and stuff like that. So, like I said, we're not sure what that's about yet. We have some pictures here of some of the Swarm. I'm not going to go through each of them in detail, but I have it up on the screen for you guys to look at. We have the Sniper, Grenadier, Imago, and Hunter. And then there's also another enemy type called Juvies. They're kind of like the wretches of this game, but they're described as, they may seem like wretches, but they're a lot more menacing and fast. So that they dart like from side to side and jump, like they pretty much teleport almost, because they're dashing so fast from side to side, and they'll like dash up onto the ceiling and then dash to the side onto a wall and just be crawling at you the whole time and just charging you like really fast, which sounds pretty interesting. Like I said, it sounds like wretches on steroids, so that'll be interesting to see. And then an enemy we should all know if we watch the debut gameplay is the Pouncer. That's a a new enemy type. That is like 4 legs, pounces around, has the little talons that it can shoot out of its tail. Like what's the word? I'm trying to think of the word for it. Like quills that they can, like kind of like a porcupine, shoots those out at you. And then so those are that's like the new enemy types, the Swarm, which they all seem pretty interesting. It's supposed to be a lot darker and a lot more terrifying, like scarier. And apparently, from some of the interviews and stuff of people trying the game and stuff, the Swarm, especially the Juvies, make some really, really disturbing and like blood-curdling noises, which I'm very curious to hear for myself. So, as I mentioned, there's pods that can burst. Well, I didn't mention that they can burst, but they burst out of pods sometimes, and those are going to be on the battlefield actually, and you're going to be able to, like, if you shoot them, you'll pop them, and that can, like, they can be cover sometimes, and you can pop their cover, but there could be enemies inside it. So if you decide to pop it, they can burst out and start attacking you and everything, which is bad news bears. You don't want to add more enemies. So it's probably, like, me personally, I'm not a gambling man, so I'll probably just avoid popping the pods at all costs. Even if someone's hiding behind it, I'll just do my best to not hit it. So, I mean, that's just me. I don't want to try getting rid of the cover if it means there's a chance that an enemy will pop out. So, another new feature they're adding to the game, they mentioned, is not going to be in multiplayer. Well, they said they have no plans of putting it in multiplayer. They might toss it in at some point, I don't know. But is these wind flares. They're like really strong, pretty much tornadoes mixed with thunderstorms that are just like, they're just like crazy. So I have a picture of it here. The lightning can hit you and enemies and burn you and even kill you. So that's one thing to keep an eye out for. And then there's huge wind gusts that happen where, like, it'll even change the trajectory of your bullets. If you try to throw a grenade, it'll catch your grenade, and if you're throwing it into the wind, it'll fly back into you and blow you up, hit you right in the face. Or you can throw it like straight, and if the wind is moving right, it'll like curve the grenade to the right, like behind cover or something, if you're that skilled. So that should be interesting to see. And one thing that has me really excited is it affects the enemies too. So, like, the enemies will be like hiding behind cover, and then like a huge gust of wind could like make them stumble out of cover or something. And then also the developers of the game mentioned when you kill somebody, the wind will like actually pick up their body and just start throwing it around, which is gonna be awesome. I can't wait to see that in action. Just imagine like executing something, or like chainsawing somebody, and as they're falling, a gust of wind comes out and starts picking up picks up one at each half of their body, and it starts throwing it around. It's gonna be crazy. That's really exciting. So actually, I was gonna put this all in one video, but this video is already like 10 minutes. So, like, I don't know. I don't want it to be too long. So I am actually gonna split them up. The next video I'm going to do is going to be on, like, new weapons and some of the multiplayer features and everything. So, I appreciate you guys watching, and I'll see you in the next one. I hope you enjoy the Gears coverage, because more is going to be coming. So, like I said, thanks for watching, guys.